So let's graph this bad boy. Budget charges, blah, blah, blah. What goes on the bottom? No, that's not what goes on the bottom. What goes on the bottom?
Days.
Time in days. You're measuring time. The scale is days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I made one too far away. We need how many days on the bottom? 7. Because the rules only apply to a maximum of 7 days. Excellent. What goes on the side? No. Cost. Because how much we're going to pay. And how is that cost measured? Dollars. Okay. So let's go up. 50, 100, 150, 200, and so on. Everybody okay? All right. So, $65 a day for the first 3 days. So, when I walk in there at the beginning of day 1, how much do they charge me? To rent a car. $65. So right about there, right? Halfway between 50 and 100, yeah? Yeah, you're right. It's 75. So a little lower than half, but everybody's happy with this, yeah? Right? And how far does this line go? Out to 1. Because for any amount of time on that first day, I pay $65, yes? Okay. What happens if I keep it past the first day? No. $65 a day for the first 3 days. So I go up to 130. Oh, I thought you said 30 extra. Sorry, I misheard you, Amrit. My fault. So you're up to 130. Now, at 130, what kind of dot do I put? Open or closed? Open. Because up to a day is 65. Once I go past the day, then it's up at 130. Till when? Just one more day. Close dot. Then I add what? At 130 more, right? So now, or at 65 more. So now I'm up at 195 for one more day. Then what happens? How far up's this one? 30 more. Open dot at 30, one more day. Open dot 30 up, one more day. Open dot 30 up, one more day. Is everybody with me? Now the question becomes, do I do anything in these gaps? Yes or no? No. Why? Because is what you say when you don't have an answer. Why is that line not connected? Sydney. Close. It has something to do with not knowing.
Oh, you don't get paid consistently. You're not paying consistently.
Right. What is your only option as an input for this amount of time?
Oh, thanks.
Your input is all the time from 0 to 1, yes? Does your output ever change? No. So you cannot connect these lines. Even though the line is going up diagonally, you cannot connect it. Because do you have any outputs in here? Your output is always that. It doesn't change. Okay? Okay.
Just a quick question. Why is that some of the circles like open?
Because they don't include that. I do not ever pay $130 on day 1. I don't start paying that $130 till after day one. Okay? Okay. So, should the points be connected? No. Why or why not? Inputs do not give changing outputs. So even though every day we keep it, it costs us more and more, it's not constant because it goes from 65 to 130 to 195 to 225 to 255. Understand? Everybody cool? So now the question is it a function? Well, it's graphed, so we can check with the vertical line, right? Is it good? Is it good? Is good? Is good? Is good? Is good? Is it good? Yes, it is good. Why? Because the top dot is open. So yes. Why or why not? Because okay. Let's graph Mr. Myers's patience and ability to keep his anger in check. We've had first 5 days, second 5 days, now we're into the third. That first week, we're graphing patience here. It was nice and high. Stayed high for almost the whole week. Then we had a weekend. Then people started acting like chumps. So it drops down a little. Now here we are here. Out come the fidget spinners, which didn't exist until then. Now it's down here. Out comes the a-go-go bathroom. Now it's down here. Out comes a-go-go vending machine. Now it's down here. Now it's I know how to do it. So now it's down here. That's going to be day 15. What do you think is going to happen the last week? And anybody who is unaware of the people to whom I am speaking needs to stop for a second and think about to whom I am speaking. Because I'm not going to look at any one person in particular. I'm going to leave this out there open for the people who hopefully will understand how conversations work. And hopefully will understand what is going to happen to you for the last week, should that trend continue. Okay. And that I did record. You did? Of course I did. Your parents need to know how you behave in this room. So when I kick you out and they come to complain, I can say, check this date, check this date, check this date, and check this date. And they will say, oh, I didn't realize my kid was that much of an ass. Sadly, though, they don't. They usually defend you anyway. So, as I was saying, because every input gives a unique output. Now, what's the domain and range? You're having a quiz on this tomorrow, so I sure hope that you can figure it out. 1, 0. Yes. Why is it 0 to 7? Because, pardon me? That's where it ends. It ends 7. But why is it everything from 0 to 7? Because it's all covered. All amount of time from 0 up to 7 days is covered. Is it the same for range? No. What's the range? 0 is the lowest, because if I don't rent the car, I don't have to pay anything. Then what? Nope. 65. Then what?
Union.
No. Ranges are the outputs. What's the next output? 130, then what? 195, then what?
225.
225, then what?
255.
255, then what?
285.
1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
287.
290. It's 35. Oh yeah, it's $30 a day. 285, and then
315.
315. Why isn't it an interval? Why is the domain interval notation and range not? It's not covering everything. The only possible outputs are these. There is no output between 0 and 65. I can pay nothing if I don't rent a car, or I can pay 65 if I rent a car for any amount of time in the first day. Everybody understand? Will I ever pay $95 for a car? No, why? Because I can't. I can only pay 65, and if I take it longer than that one day, I'm paying for the whole second day. Everybody with me? $315 for a week of a car? No, that's a good rate. It's a great rate. When I was in LA, I paid $250 American for 6 days. What? I'm sorry, I heard someone's drink. I lost you. If it's not covered for the click, bottom one. I didn't hear the important word. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Everybody cool? Okay. Now this situation has a proper math name. Discrete data. You cannot have fractions in the input or output. Continuous data means for every possible input, not I-put, it's not an Apple device, input, there's an output. Now, stop and think about this for a minute, okay? Remember, it goes back to the last question on the last page, right? When I'm driving the bus, is time always on? Excellent. So time is continuous because my inputs, there's always an input. Even if I can't measure it, there's still time, isn't there? Like we stop measuring time in real life at seconds, correct? But from 1 second to the next, time is still going onwards, isn't it? Right? Okay. Kids, when I'm driving, as I'm moving, is my distance always changing as time is always changing? My distance. Yeah, because no matter what is happening, if I am moving, my distance from one point to another is still changing as time goes on, yes? Okay. Now, how many hands are in my pockets? 2. Everybody with me? So at time 0, there's 2 hands in my pockets, correct? 10 seconds later, how many hands are in my pockets? Still 2. 10 seconds after that, how many hands are in my pockets?
1.
10 seconds after that, how many hands are in my pockets?
None.
None. What are my only possible outputs? 2, 1, and 0. So is that continuous data? No. Because for every input, I can only have 0, 1, or 2 hands in my pockets. Because I only have 2 hands. Everybody with me? Now, do I always have hands? Yeah, I do. Yeah, they're right here. No. Do I always have these hands? So if I'm graphing how many hands are on my body, is that continuous? Yes, because no matter at what time, there's always 2 hands on my body, or 1 hand, or none hands. Does everyone understand the difference? Okay. Here's a quick riddle for you. Every single one of you in this room has more than the average number of legs. Freaks. Every single one of us in this room has more than the average number of legs. You have more than the average number of legs. It's not complicated. Average number of legs. You have more legs than the average person on our planet. Yes. Yes. So let's see if you can really do this. Turn the page over to 156. I want to know the dV, I want to know the IV, and I want to know if it's discrete or continuous with a reason. And then afterwards I'll explain the leg joke. This unit is confusing because you have to understand real life. This is what happens when we actually do stuff that's real life. Then you get confused. I know you just want to do numbers. That is not at all. That is such a tiny part of what math is about, it's not even funny. No. Well, it depends on how you look at it. This is a difficult unit because you actually have to know how to do stuff and how it applies. That's coming. Alrighty. What's the dependent variable? Well, first of all, you got to decide on the variables. What are the two variables? Nope. Constant pressure. Constant means it's not a variable. Speed of sound and temperature are the two variables. Excellent. One of them depends on the other one. Which depends on which? Sound depends on temperature. How do you know that? You just guessed, but you're right. How do you know it? Nobody make a sound. I know that's impossible for the kids in this room. But try to make it no sound for a moment. Is there still a temperature? Was there sound? Yes, because it's impossible for teenagers to not make sound. But let's pretend you guys actually were able to follow that instruction, which was make no sound and do nothing. The easiest instruction I will ever give you, that 4 of you failed. Gurmukh made a sound. Yashvinder coughed. Ekdeep did something.
I didn't do anything.
Ekdeep, I think, laughed. Regardless, the point is, was there a temperature? Was there sound? No. So the speed of sound depends on the temperature. So the dV is the speed. The independent variable is the temp. Now, is it discrete or continuous? Is it discrete or continuous? Of course it's continuous, because there is always a temperature, David. And no matter how fast the sound is moving, there's a temperature at that sound. Okay? Do you understand me or don't you? Okay. Is sound passing through the air from my lips to your ears right now?
I guess, yeah.
You guess? You don't hear me? Don't guess about something you know. Is there sound coming out of my mouth right now?
Yeah.
Excellent. Is the air between us, does it have a temperature?
Yeah.
Excellent. Is that temperature always available? Or does the sound leave my mouth at a certain air temperature and then get to here and have the temperature change? No. The temperature is constant all the way there, isn't it?
How is it constant? Temperature.
David.
If it was
David,
cold spot,
David,
I went like
how
that.
warm is your ear right now?
Like How warm?
It's about 20 degrees because that's room temperature, right? How warm is the air right here from my mouth? About 20 degrees. From here to there, is there a temperature that I could measure the whole way?
Maybe. If you're in a cold spot.
If I'm in a cold spot, is there still a temperature?
Yes.
Okay. So can I measure the temperature for the entire space from my mouth to your ear?
Yes.
Okay. So that's continuous.
Oh.
Does the sound wave go from my mouth to your ear, or does it disappear at some point?
Oh no, it doesn't disappear.
So, since the sound wave gets right to your ear continuously, and there is an air temperature from my mouth to your ear continuous, doesn't matter what it is, it's still measurable, it is continuous data.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Is everybody with me? So this one is continuous. Why? Oh, I spelled that badly. What's the reason? Because there's always a temperature. Everybody cool? All right. Let's look at the next one. What is the DV, the IV? And is it discrete or continuous? First of all, what are the two things I'm counting? My variables are my dose, and what's the other thing that I'm counting? Age. Excellent. What depends on what? Dose depends on age. So my dependent variable is dose. My independent variable is age. Does everybody understand that? Can you explain it in your own words? What does it mean? Close. You're actually close. Ekti. Absolutely correct. Absolutely right. Everybody gets that, yes? Okay, that's not the hard part. Is it discrete or continuous?
Discrete. Discrete. Continuous.
It is discrete. Why? Why is it discrete? Pardon me, Fawaz? I understand. I'm trying to think of how I can turn that into what I need you to get from this. Yes, there is a limit to how much you can take, but that doesn't necessarily mean if it's discrete or continuous. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're right, there is a limit, but up to that limit, it might be continuous. But it is not, it is discrete. Sydney. There you go. I take read the side of any medicine bottle. Up to 12 years old, you take 1 pill. After you're 12 years old, you take 2 pills.
After you're 50, you take 3.
Right? Do you take when you're 13 and a half? How many pills do you take?
2.
When you're 17 and 3/4, how many pills do you take?
2.
When you're 58, how many pills do you take?
2.
Still 2. So that's why it's discrete, because the age goes up in years, not dates, right? So right now you might be 30 and you might have to take 1 pill. The next time you change is when?
31.
At 31 it might change. For all this time, how much do you take? 1. So it's discrete. Does everybody understand? Yeah? Okay. Because I can't have fractions, right? I am not measuring 30 to 31 in fractions. Okay. Juice cans related to cost. DV, IV, dis, or con. What is the 2 variables? Cost and cans. Excellent. Those are the 2 variables. One depends on the other.
Cost depends on the cans.
Cost is the dependent variable, and cans is the independent variable. Why?
Depending on the cans, the cost change.
Absolutely. If I walk into Safeway, but I buy no orange juice, do I have a cost? No. Pardon me? I'm sorry, Amrit, I just couldn't hear you. It's not a put down. Okay. So, is it discrete or continuous?
No, continuous. Yes. Continuous.
It is discrete. Why, Simran? Because I can't go into Safeway, drink half a can of orange juice, pay $1 for it, and say, I'm not thirsty anymore. Here, you have it back. I'd like 50 cents back, please.
Wait, but you said you can have fractions. I thought you said you can have
That's exactly what I just said. You cannot go into Safeway and drink half a can of orange juice. You have to buy the entire can of orange juice. It is discrete because our inputs are whole cans. You cannot go to Safeway and buy a half a can of orange juice. Okay? And finally, altitude is related to temperature. EV, IV, and dis or con. What are the variables? Altitude and temperature. Excellent. Which depends on which? Temperature is the dependent variable. Absolutely right. IV is altitude. Why? Well, right now, there's a temperature, yes? As I go up, what happens to the temperature? It gets colder. Right? Top of Mount Everest, really cold, even in the summer. Everybody cool? Now, this one's tricky. Discrete or continuous? It is continuous. But why? Right. We may not be able to measure it small enough. Like we stop measuring temperatures at degrees, right? There's 1 degree and then 2 degrees. But between 1 and 2 degrees, temperature exists, doesn't it? It doesn't go from 0 degrees, water's frozen, to 1 degree, water is no longer frozen, does it? It goes through a range. Everybody cool? All right.
I thought we're like to say like altitude is related to temperature in like steps. It would be the discrete, right?
Okay.
It's like taking a few steps.
So what David is asking is, here I am at my temperature's down here because my altitude's down here because it's independent. My temperature's here, right? Here I am at 0 altitude and it's whatever, 30 degrees out, right? So at 0 altitude, I'm at 30 degrees. Agreed? David is saying, okay, so I'm going to go up and take a measurement at 100 meters. So we fly up a drone, we get a measurement of a temperature at 100 meters, yes? And we see, let's say it's 20 degrees there. Then we fly the drone up to 200 meters, and we see that it's 17 degrees. Then we fly the drone up to 300 meters, and we see that it's 12 degrees. David is asking, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, David, because we only have this data, you're saying that this would be discrete.
Oh no, what I'm saying is like, say for example, if I were like to hike up a mountain, that's like cold. But then from ground level to just like a few meters apart, like if I were to say like steps, not like...
Well, that's exactly what I've done. I've gone up 100 meters then. Okay, so this looks to be discrete because of the way we've graphed it, right? Because I only have data for those points. But in reality, I know that this had to exist. There was a temperature at 50. I just don't have the data for it. Understand? So this is still continuous. Okay, I'm confused by your question, David. It doesn't make sense to me.
So if the amount of distance that you travel is like small enough so that the temperature doesn't change, would it be discrete?
No, it's still continuous because for that input, that small amount of altitude change, there is still a temperature. Okay? Because we can't teleport. Now, what about that question we did about money and wages? Hours and pay. Is that discrete or continuous? I get paid. Let's forget that it's $10.50. Let's say minimum wage is $10 an hour to make it easy, right? So at 1 hour, how much money do I get? 10. I got a dot right there, right? Okay. At 2 hours, how much do I get? 20. Cool? Now, when I was your guys' age, when I worked my first job at Subway, we got paid quarter hours. So if I worked 1 hour and 15 minutes, I would have gotten paid $12.50 because that's a quarter of $10. But what if I worked 1 hour and 10 minutes? How much do you think she paid me?
For 1 hour.
She paid me for 1 hour. So was it discrete or continuous? Discrete because she would go no smaller than a quarter of an hour. Now I have heard from some kids that work at McDonald's that you have a punch clock now and a computer does it and you're paid to the second.
Yeah.
Right? So if you work and it pays you like your cell phone, right to the second. I've heard that is the way it goes now. I don't know because I don't get paid by the hour. But so would that, nowadays, are you discrete or continuous?
Discrete.
Technically, it's discrete because they'll only pay you to the minute. But in actual use, it's continuous. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're not going to clock it down to the picosecond, the billionth of a second, are they? Technically discrete, but in practice, continuous. But whereas in my day, when I was your age, it was definitely discrete. Because I could have no amount of pay between 10 and 12.50 for that time. Does everybody understand? Okay? It's just like the pills, right? I can take one pill or I can take a second pill. Maybe I could cut the pill in half. But my age is going up every second, right? So my birthday was today. I'm 12. I can take 2 pills, right? Tomorrow I'm 12 and whatever, how many thousands of seconds, right? Would I take a pill and cut it into thousands and take one little bit? No. So that is discrete. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then there's the problem of, is it reality? Like McDonald's pays you to the minute, so that's technically discrete, but in actual practice, it's continuous because we don't measure lower than a minute. Cool?
Yeah.
But your question about altitude, same thing. We can't measure that tiny amount of distance, but it is there. Cool? Yeah. Okay. Everybody good?
Yes.
All right. Quiz tomorrow. Polynomial test tomorrow. Polynomial test tomorrow has expansion of mono times mono, mono times binomial, mono, binomial, 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 trinomial, 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 and it's got factoring of GCF x squared plus bx plus c, ax squared plus bx plus c, and x squared minus y squared, plus any tricky ones like we did at the end of yesterday, like x minus 7 squared minus 81. Okay? That's your test. Your quiz tomorrow, graphing and domain and range. Not discrete and continuous. Just graphing and domain and range. That was test. Quiz is just domain, range, and reading a graph or making a graph or explaining a graph. Oh, answer to the riddle is this. Right now, everybody, there's 26 people in the room, yes? Okay, so there's 26 people in the room times how many legs each? 2. So in this room right now, there's 52 legs, yes? So the average amount of legs in this room is 2 legs, correct? You agree? In walks a pirate. Now, there's 27 people in the room, right? Times 2 legs for most of us, right? But he has 1 less leg. So there's really 53 legs in the room divided by 27, which is not quite 2. So everybody with 2 legs has more than the average.
What if the pirate has 2 legs?
I only said pirate because he sometimes has a peg leg. Fine. Terry Fox comes back from the dead and walks in. He has 2 legs. I would have said Steve Fonyo, but nobody knows who Steve Fonyo is. Unless they're my age. Everybody knows Terry Fox, but nobody knows who Steve Fonyo is. You're kidding. Everybody knows who Terry Fox is. Steve Fonyo actually completed the run. He ran from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, and he made it. But after that, he became a drunk and got in trouble for like beating up his girlfriend and drunk driving and stuff, so he turned into a loser.
Who's the guy with the wheelchair?
That's Rick Hansen.
Oh, the guy that Hansen's name is.
Yes. He was from Williams Lake.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But did you really run through